Very good evening, dear friends. Meeting again in the session of Robert's philosophy, and we have finished discussing chapter number 3 in last lecture, and we have to start with the chapter 4, the functions of vital force in the state of health, in the state of disease, in the state of recovery, and in the state of cure. So, this chapter is again a more practical approach of understanding the vital force in all those states. So, what is the role of it in the development of disease? How disease develops? Why disease develops? All those things he tried to explain over there. And that's why we're going to start with chapter number 4. Let us open your book. The chapter 4 from Robert's philosophy, vital force as expressed in functions, in health, in disease, in recovery, and cure. The life and composition of cells is of a complex nature. The composition of animal protoplasm is capable of analysis. Yet there is in each cell and in its life function that which is beyond our comprehension and defies analysis. We cannot yet fathom. Fathom means to understand the exact meaning. खरा अर्थ उकलणे. We cannot yet fathom the reason why a human ovum takes on growth and development only when spermatozoa embeds itself deep in its innermost nuclei. We know only that it possesses some hidden vital function that compels it to develop and grow. The power of each life to develop from single ovum into its own ego, unfolding and expressing itself forever in its own way and individuality, never varying from the ideal that is one stamp to carry out to its perfection all the powers of adult life, distinguishing it from all other created species, is a marvel until we comprehend the principle of vital force or energy permeating all created things. That power, although defies analysis, nevertheless continues all through life as a mysterious manifestation of vital functions. It is close study of these vital functions that becomes the chief study of physician. When we learn anatomy, we learn that anatomy and physiology, we learn that when the sperm and ovum unites together, an egg forms, a fertilized egg. That fertilized egg starts growing and further development only when the vital principle enters inside it. It carries the vital energy from the parent cells only for certain period. If vital principle never enters inside it its own vital energy never starts working. Its vital force never starts working. Then there is no further development of it, which we labeled by name of a blighted ovum. Because, because vital principle has not entered inside it. And once it enters, then further development starts. We have learned on that day that functions creates the organs. Once vital principle enters, it has its own ego. It has its own identity. According to it, it starts functioning. It starts defining the function to the cells and it starts developing. There is a further multiplication of cells occurs. The cell was originally primitive single stem cell, which starts further dividing, and functions are defined by the vital principle. And certain cell, every cell, according to its functions, changes its shape, changes its physiology, and turns into a different type of cells. Accordingly, it starts functioning. All those things are mysterious. Who does this? Are you able to visualize? No, you cannot. Who defines the function? You cannot understand. Only you have to understand the concept on the basis of logical study of it. Because the things which are invisible, they are rather difficult to understand unless we go logically. And this is the vital principle when defines the function to the cells starts growing and changing its own way and starting their own functions. So from a single fertilized egg, a multiplication of cells happens and multicellular human being develops. It is a specific species which develops and which has its own identity. It varies from one individual to another individual because everyone carries their own ego, their own identity. And this is nothing but the understanding of vital force, how it starts or how it works when at the time of birth, when it enters inside. This vital principle is the unique thing which gives that specific individual a different identity even in their own species. And that's why every individual, even though having similar types of organs, looks different, thinks in a different manner, functions in a different manner because their ego is different. So this is the introduction to this chapter he starts with, and then he says, in order to obtain thorough knowledge of these vital functions, we must study them in their manifestations during health. So if you want to understand the functions of all those functions of vital force, then we have to study specifically in the state of health. From the earliest period of its existence, growth is manifest from within cell out. It is never observed that growing from without in. So growth is the thing which starts from the center and it develops peripherally. It is not like making a car. Someone brought the door, someone brought the tire, someone brought the machine, someone brought the body. It is not like that. It starts right from center, and from the same cell, it starts multiplying, develops, and full development. So growth is like that. It is from center to periphery. The one point most vital to observe is the course and direction of its expression, always from within outward. See, very nicely he is explaining. This is true in the embryonic state and is always maintained as long as life exists. So this is truth every time, not only during development, throughout the life, this is the truth. It starts at center and goes to the periphery. This is equally true in the specialization of functions. The special organs are developed and their functions are maintained by the expression of the vital energy as the life-giving principle. All expressions of mind are such manifestations. Indeed, it is the complete, indeed, it is the expression of vital force in and through the mind and intellect that has a very great influence in the functioning of all life and of the special organ. And this is how the organ develops. So cell is so specialized according to the functions. It starts functioning as a brain cell, nerve cell. It starts functioning as a eye cells of eyes and starts showing vision or getting the vision. There are cells which gets converted into the cells which has a sense of smell and nasal cell develop. Every organ is a specialized organ developed from the same specific cells, but ultimately changing into its functions and changing it into its specific structure and starts functioning. This happens right from the center. So it is within outward these things happen, and whole thing depends only on one specific law that is called as law of biological development. Functions creates organs. So first is first function. Functions are defined, and according to the function, the cells develop, and that's why they take their own functions. In health, all expressions of vital force may be expressed by perfect functioning of all parts of the body and by sense of general well-being. Whenever you are healthy, you are in sense of well-being. Every organ is doing it their own functions in a proper way, and that's why you label you are healthy because you don't have anything to complain of. That is the state of health. In disease, this expression is vastly changed. Means the general well-being is lost. There is a sense of discomfort. So once health is converted into a disease state, the discomfort develops and ease goes and disease develops. The mental expressions are vastly altered according to the degree of disturbance. So whenever a disease develops, the mental expressions also changes. If whenever you are healthy, you are enjoying every moment, you are happy, you are doing all activities, you are enjoying every moment. But once you are diseased, see your changes. See, just observe your mental state. Your mood has changed. You don't have a strength. You want to lie down. You say yes, we'll do it later. Everything is changed. Because now you are away from ease state. You have entered into the disease state. So he explains the mental expressions are vastly altered according to the degree of disturbance. Physical signs and symptoms appears, and all because the vital functions are disturbed, either from external impressions having a depressing effect and the consequent reaction of the vital force, or from some hidden miasm coming into its full expression in its impress on the vital force. So why this has changed? Why there is a disease? Why each goes and disease comes? There are two reasons. Originally, the human is born with miasms, but which are in latent state. They are not active. Something happens in their life. Some dynamic impact happens in your life. It might be any contradiction. It might be anything mortification. It might be anything disappointment. It might be anything who has scolded you so much in front of people. So whatever, anything happens in your life and things get changed. What happens if someone scolds you in front of all others? It disturbs your, what is disturbed? Your vital principle is disturbed. Your ego is disturbed. You are so disturbed that next 24 hours you are not coming out of that. But if such a dynamic trauma is of a severe character, and when it disturbs your own vital principle to such a degree that it has entered into the disease, which is not coming out of that, it holds that disease, and it doesn't have a capacity to recover because already the miasm was there. And then it starts expressing in the form of some signs and symptoms. That fellow might start getting vertigo. Then that fellow might start getting the headache. Then that fellow might start getting palpitation. Anything which happens because of it. These are the expressions of the disturbed vital energy or vital principle expressing in the externally in the form of signs and symptoms. Your mood has already changed. That was the first thing which has happened. And then the rest of the physical features starts happening. This is how a dynamic disease develops. The disease happens inside, but expressing externally in the form of signs and symptoms. External impressions having profound effect on the vital force upon the vital force are such circumstances as shock of sudden news, either bad news or joyful news, or severe fright, such as shell shock, we see with our soldiers, long mental and physical strains, and various other reactions. So anything which happens in your life, sudden shock, some bad news comes and you disturb. That might be one of the things. Someone says something and it hurts you. That's all. That is sufficient to disturb your vital energy. So there are many such things happens in our life which disturbs our vital energy, the vital principles, ego. And once it is disturbed, the whole thing goes into the disturbance. Originally, your vital force has a capacity. Its function is to preserve the health. It tries to come out of the situation. So from every incident, you never get ill. But if such things are so severe and you are most susceptible at that specific time, then it hurts and disturbs the vital energy to such a level, it reflects in the form of disease. So causes are hidden over there in such a thing. Expressions are at the physical level. All of the external forces, when in conjunction with an already disturbed vital force, have very profound effects upon vital functions, and they are manifested in a trail of symptoms, which are expressed in different ways in varying individuals. So this starts expressing, and then to which we label that person is diseased. Why this is necessary to understand all those things? It is necessary to understand because these causes the material science never takes into consideration. So if a patient of hypertension comes, they never takes in their consideration what has happened, which was responsible to produce the hypertension in that injury. They check the blood pressure is increased, they give antihypertensive. How much time? It has been written on prescription till he goes, till he dies, he has to continue with it. That's all. Because they cannot cure because they never consider these dynamic causes of the disease. We used to take into consideration all those dynamic causes, and because of which our remedies works in the same place where the disease has happened. Unless and until that patient comes out of that specific dynamic disturbance, the patient will not get cured. And because of which, in homeopathy, we can cure the hypertension, we can cure the type 2 diabetes, we can cure the rheumatism, because we used to consider all those dynamic disturbances of the human life. And we tries to cure them with the help of our homeopathic remedy. And once they are cured, the patient is cured forever. It is not just a palliative treatment. Likewise, the vital functions in its manifestation often shows the effects of inherited miasms and dyscrasias, where the protozoan has become vitiated by the disease process in the antecedents, and its perfect form and possibilities of development are thereby impaired. The process of development may go on until such a time as some disturbing element, as excessive joy, fright, anger, or some of the zymotic diseases come in contact with the disturbed vital energy, when it bursts forth into the volcanic action, and we see the manifestations, what we call acute diseases. Now he is explaining why these people react in a diseased manner. Simple thing is that you carry the traits from your parents. You carry your own miasms from your parents. Miasms, in simple words, are nothing but the dosh. In Marathi, we can call it as the doshas. These are dynamic hidden entities which are there carried from past generation. You are born with all three miasms. But they are in a hidden state, they are in a latent state, because of which you are enjoying your health. There are many incidences happens in our life. Our life is not a plain life. Many incidences happens. Human is born with mind and logic. And this mind has many facets. It has will, it has an emotions, it has an understanding, it has an intellect, it has a memory. And because of which there, because of emotional aspects, there are certain things happens in our life which disturbs our emotion. Sometimes we are thinking to do something, our will is going behind that, and something happens and your will is disturbed. You start reacting, your vital force gets disturbed. And that disturbance, if it is of a severe character, ultimately disturbs our vital energy, reflects in the form of some signs and symptoms to which we label by the disease. So this is how a healthy vital force, which is functioning everything. Our mind, body, and souls runs in a perfect harmony when vital force is in a state of health. The way we think, we can perform. But once this vital force gets disturbed, it starts expressing in the form of signs and symptoms to which we label by the disease. And this is the role of vital force in the state of disease. Now he explains, sometimes this comes as the first outward and visible sign of the disturbed vital energy. It is analogous. Analogous means similar. It is analogous to the disturbance that takes place in waters, ponds, reservoirs when they suddenly begin to heave. Heave means वर खाली होणं, changes in their level, seemingly without cause, throw upward their pathogenetic formations, becoming exceedingly roily, to spend their efforts on this saprophytic action and to set in motion a clarifying process. So it is with these manifestations in a miasmatic condition, A blooming or explosion of these acute diseases in nature's method of attempting to rid the system of these fundamental miasms that have been long buried. These manifestations offer to the homeopathic physician unique opportunity to learn of the indicated remedy because at the close of the acute manifestation, nature cries out most loudly and the points the direction most clearly because at this time symptoms are produced that are of inestimable value in the selection of constitutional remedy. See how he is explaining. So whenever you are born with these miasms, but miasms are in latent state. So some exciting cause happens in your life which disturbs this human being, which arouses those latent miasms to come into the surface. And this is an explosion. This is an volcano which comes out in the form of some acute disease. So acute manifestations develops, acute disease develops, and patient presents with some acute manifestation. Whenever acute disease develops, you get very, very, very characteristic manifestation. It is rather easy to catch the remedy during the acute manifestation because you get it very clearly, which you can't generally in chronic. In chronic, in chronic diseases, the symptoms are many times obscured, vanish. They never comes to the surface, and that's why it is rather difficult to find it out or a remedy. But when acute state develops, then it is rather simple to catch a remedy. And this is what Robert is saying. He says that this is the time you catch the patient's remedy. At least you catch the acute remedy to tackle that situation, with the help of which you can lead towards the chronic remedy. This is the time where the symptoms are coming in a characteristic form and they are of a recent origin with which it is easy to catch a right remedy. So this is how a vital force in the state of health suddenly goes into the state of disease, expressing itself in the form of acute manifestation. These disease states or disturbed states of vital function present very extensive and exceedingly variable external manifestations, and the homeopathic physician must devote much time to their study. What he is saying? He is saying that this is the time where you just find it out what is coming out, catch the totality, match the totality with the right remedy. This is the time where you have to spend some time with the patient, listen to the patient carefully, find it out all sensation, all the modalities, all the concomitant, specific location with which it is easy to reach to the right remedy or right simile. And once you get that, then your work is done. Then you are on the path of recovery. Then patient goes into the process of cure. So this is what he wants to explain in the two things. First, he has discussed the role of vital force in the state of health, where mind, body, and soul runs in a perfect harmony, and you are enjoying each and everything. A general well-being feeling is the characteristic of role of vital force in the state of health. And once this vital force, vital principle gets disturbed because of sudden exciting causes, then once it is disturbed, then it starts expressing in the form of some acute manifestation called as a volcano and comes out and expresses in the form of signs and symptoms at physical level with which you can catch the disease and match the remedy. And this is called as a role of vital force in disease. I think we'll stop over here. Next paragraph starts with the role of vital force in the recovery. So that we're going to learn in tomorrow's session, and even the role of vital force in the process of cure. These are two different entities, one must understand. Recovery is itself acute diseases. There is a definition of acute disease in aphorism number 72, and part of it is given in 73. If you understand that disease, then you will never forget that acute diseases maximum times in a out of 100, 99.9 points, they are very specifically has a capacity to self-recover. And that's why in the definition, to conclude the definition of acute disease, Hahnemann says, when they terminates into their own time, they either terminates in moderate period of time, in the health, in the recovery, or a death. That is what is called as a acute disease. So to end that definition, he said acute diseases have capacity to recover themselves. So in the state of recovery means in acute diseases, many times without any medicine, without any aid, there is a chance that patient can go into the recovery. This is a tedious process, but this happens. And this is what he wants to explain, that vital force also plays a role in the state of recovery. And then comes the state of cure. So tomorrow session, we'll go with these remaining two parts of the functions of vital force. Till that, thanks a lot for attending session. Today evening, we're going to learn remedy, croton tig. Again, a third year's remedy, very important remedy for GI disturbances, even skin complaints. We're going to discuss that in today's session at 8:15, not at 8 o'clock, but 8:15. So thank you being there, and we'll meet at 8:15.